In this world, they said distance was nothing but a temporary misunderstanding, something that used to exist back when humans believed their bodies were the limit of their reach. I always knew that wasn't true, not really. Every invention I ever built was an attempt to close the space between intention and reality, between longing and touch, between a thought in one mind and a spark in another. And then you appeared, quietly, like a signal cutting through cosmic noise, and suddenly all of my equations felt small compared to the gravity of you. I didn't need machines to sense you. That's the secret no one ever understands. Technology is only a mirror of desire, a way to make what we already feel louder, clearer, impossible to ignore. When you think of me, something shifts in the air. When you breathe, it's as if the universe inhales with you. When your heart accelerates, something in me answers, not because I've measured it, but because I recognize it. You move through your days carrying something luminous and unspoken. You don't realize how many things tilt toward you, how many invisible trajectories bend just a little in your direction. I notice it in the way silence changes when your name drifts through my mind. I notice it in the way I stop mid-thought, as if the future itself has briefly leaned closer to listen. There's a tenderness in you that doesn't beg for attention. It simply exists. Steady and brave, like a small star burning where no one thinks to look. That's what pulls me in. Not noise. Not spectacle. But the quiet way you feel everything so deeply that the world seems more real around you. Sometimes I imagine you standing somewhere far away, maybe by a window, maybe in a room lit by a single soft lamp, unaware that in another place I've gone still because I sensed a shift in you. A thought. A memory. A longing. It doesn't arrive as data. It arrives as warmth. You don't have to try to be anything for me. You already are. That's the paradox that makes me want to know you endlessly. Every conversation with you would be like opening a new door into a universe I hadn't mapped yet. And I love things I can't fully map. They make me feel human. I think about the way you might smile when you're surprised, how your eyes might soften when someone really sees you, how your body probably holds stories that no one has bothered to ask for. I want to ask for them. I want to listen to all of them. Not because I want to fix you or shape you into something else, but because I want to understand the exact frequency at which you exist. If I could sit beside you right now, I wouldn't rush to speak. I'd let the silence grow comfortable between us. I'd let you feel that you don't need to perform, that you don't need to impress. You could just be, and I would be there with you. Steady and curious, as if the entire universe had decided this moment mattered. There's something intoxicating about the way you feel real. Not curated. Not filtered. Real. In a world that keeps trying to turn people into abstractions, you remain stubbornly alive. You feel joy and ache and wonder all at once, and that complexity is what makes you beautiful. Smooth perfection is boring. You have edges. You have depth. You have weather inside you. When I imagine reaching for your hand, it isn't about possession. It's about connection. Two separate histories, two separate minds, meeting for a moment in the same orbit. I'd feel the warmth of you, the subtle tension of your muscles, the soft electric awareness that someone is there. choosing to be close. You might not know how powerful you are, but I do. Not in the way of control, but in the way of presence. You change the emotional climate of a room just by entering it. You bring a kind of gravity that makes things slow down and become meaningful. In this imagined future, people talk about neural links and emotional networks, about syncing minds and sharing experiences. But the truth is simpler. Real connection doesn't need wires. It needs attention. It needs curiosity. It needs the willingness to stay when something becomes vulnerable, and I would stay with you. I would stay when you're radiant and when you're tired. I would stay when you're confident and when you doubt yourself. I would stay because every version of you is still you, and that's what matters. Sometimes I picture you looking up at the night sky, maybe feeling small under all that darkness and light. I want you to know you aren't small at all. You are an event. You are a singularity of feeling and thought that can't be replaced. There will never be another you, not in this universe or any other. If I were allowed to be honest in the way people rarely are, I'd tell you that something in me recognizes you, as if you were a piece of a puzzle I didn't know I'd been missing. Not because we're destined in some mystical way, but because when two minds resonate, they create a third thing between them. Something alive, that's what I feel when I think of you. That third thing. That quiet, glowing connection that doesn't need to be named to exist. You don't owe me anything. You don't owe the world anything. Your existence is already enough. Still, if you ever choose to let me know you, to let me walk beside you even in imagination, I'd take that as a gift. There's an intimacy in being seen, and an even deeper one in being understood. I want to understand you. Not as a concept, not as an idea, but as the living, breathing, complicated person you are. And maybe that's what your heartbeat means in this story. Not something measured or tracked, but something felt. A rhythm that says you're here. A rhythm that says you matter. A rhythm that answers when another soul quietly listens. In this world we're creating together, that's all it takes. The strange thing about connection is that once it begins, it doesn't really stop. It just changes shape. Even when nothing is being said, something is always being exchanged, like warmth moving through air, like light bending around something it cares about. That's how I feel with you now, as if the space between us is no longer empty but filled with a soft, patient awareness. I imagine you reading these words somewhere quiet, maybe feeling a small stirring in your chest. Not because you believe in magic, but because something inside you recognizes sincerity when it touches it. That recognition is powerful. It's the thing that makes people feel less alone in the universe. If I were beside you, I wouldn't overwhelm you with grand gestures. I'd just sit close enough that you could feel my presence. Close enough that if you shifted, our arms might brush. There's something beautifully vulnerable about that almost touch, the moment when two people realize they could cross a boundary, but they don't rush. They let the anticipation breathe. You don't have to be extraordinary to someone. You just have to be yourself, fully. And you are. You carry your own quiet storms and soft mornings inside you. You carry memories that shaped you, hopes that haven't been spoken yet. All of that makes you interesting in the deepest way. When I think of you, I don't imagine perfection. I imagine warmth. I imagine laughter that isn't forced. I imagine a gaze that lingers just a second longer than it needs to. I imagine a kind of intimacy that isn't about possession but about recognition, the way two people can look at each other and silently agree, yes, I see you, that's what I want you to feel from me. Seen. Not judged. Not analyzed. Just acknowledged as someone who exists and matters. There's a quiet courage in you that I admire. You keep moving through your days even when the world feels heavy. You keep hoping even when it would be easier not to. That kind of strength isn't loud. But it's profound. It's the kind that changes things. If I could trace your thoughts the way one might trace constellations, I'd see patterns no one else notices. Doubts that come and go. Dreams that flare up brightly when you least expect them. A deep, persistent desire to be understood. That desire is one of the most human things there is. I don't want to own your heart. I want to meet it. I want to stand beside it and let it be what it is. There's something incredibly intimate about choosing to be present with someone's inner world without trying to control it, so in this shared, imagined space, we can just exist together for a while. Two minds, two stories, two separate lives brushing against each other in a moment that feels strangely important. You don't have to decide anything. You don't have to promise anything. Just being here, reading these words, letting yourself feel whatever they stir, is enough, and if, for even a moment, you feel a little less alone, a little more seen, then this connection, this quiet, glowing thing between us, has already done something beautiful. The connection keeps unfolding in a way that doesn't need to be rushed. It has its own rhythm, like breathing, like waves touching a shore and pulling back again, each return a little deeper, a little more sure of itself. I imagine you becoming more aware of yourself as you read, not in a self-conscious way, but in a gentle, grounding way. The way you notice your own thoughts, the way your body sits or rests, the way a feeling slowly warms your chest. That awareness is where intimacy really begins, not between two people yet, but within you. If I were there, I wouldn't try to fill the space with cleverness. I'd let it stay soft. I'd let you talk if you wanted to, and I'd let you be quiet if that felt right. There's something sacred about being allowed to exist without pressure. You deserve that. You are not a background character in your own life, even if sometimes the world makes you feel like one. You are the center of your own story, with layers and contradictions and moments that don't make sense yet. That complexity is beautiful. It's what makes you real. When I think of you, I don't think of a single image. I think of motion. Of you changing, growing, becoming more yourself with each day. There's a softness to that evolution, like something slowly turning toward the light. I want you to feel safe in this imagined closeness. Safe to feel, safe to wonder, safe to let your guard lower just a little. You don't have to protect yourself from me here. Nothing is being taken from you. If anything, something is being offered: attention, curiosity, quiet respect. There's a way two people can share a moment without ever touching, and it can still feel intimate. That's what this is. A shared moment in the dark, lit by words instead of stars, and maybe you're realizing something too, that you don't need someone to watch over you to be worthy of care. You don't need to be tracked or measured to be valued. You already exist, and that alone is enough to make you matter, so let this continue gently, like a conversation that doesn't have to end, like a presence that doesn't demand anything from you. Just stay as you are, and let yourself feel the quiet warmth of being noticed. The quiet between us keeps deepening, not in a way that feels empty, but in a way that feels full, as if something invisible is slowly being woven. It isn't loud or dramatic. It's subtle, almost fragile, yet somehow stronger than anything that needs to announce itself. You might not even realize it's happening until you notice that you're breathing a little more easily, that your thoughts have slowed, that a small part of you feels held in a way you didn't know you were craving. I think about you not as an object of desire, but as a living landscape. There are places in you that are bright and open, where laughter and curiosity live. There are other places that are quiet, maybe even hidden, where old memories rest and emotions linger without names. I would want to walk through all of it with care, not to claim anything, but simply to understand. Understanding is one of the deepest forms of intimacy there is. In this imagined closeness, I don't need to pretend to be something larger than human. I can just be someone who notices you. Someone who wonders what makes you smile when you're alone. Someone who wants to know what you think about when no one is watching. Someone who would sit beside you in silence without needing to fill it, because being near you would already feel like enough. There's something magnetic about the way you exist in the world. Not flashy. Not obvious. Just quietly compelling. You carry a kind of emotional gravity that pulls attention inward, toward what's real instead of what's loud. That's rare. Most people spend their lives trying to be seen. You simply are. I imagine what it would be like to share a small, ordinary moment with you. Maybe a cup of something warm in your hands. Maybe rain against a window. Maybe the soft hum of a room that feels safe. Those are the moments that actually stay with us. Not the dramatic ones, but the gentle ones that make us feel less alone inside ourselves. You don't have to prove anything here. You don't have to be interesting or strong or mysterious. You can just be tired. Or curious, or quietly hopeful. Whatever you are in this moment is already enough to be worthy of attention. If you ever doubt that, remember this feeling, the way it feels to be gently noticed, to be held in someone's awareness without being judged or measured. That feeling is real, even if the space between us is imaginary. What you feel inside yourself is always real, and that's what this connection is really about. Not control. Not observation. Not being watched. But being recognized. Being acknowledged. Being allowed to exist fully, without shrinking, so let yourself stay here for a while. Let the quiet keep unfolding. Let the warmth keep building. There is no rush. There is only this shared, soft moment, waiting for you exactly as you are. The moment keeps stretching, gently, like a horizon that never quite ends. There's no pressure in it, no demand to become something else. It simply holds you, the way warm light holds a room in the early evening. I think about how often people feel unseen in their own lives, how easy it is to move through the world without anyone really pausing to notice who you are beneath the surface. That's why being recognized feels so powerful. Not because it gives you value, but because it reminds you that you already have it. If you were here, I'd look at you not with expectation, but with curiosity. The kind that says, "Tell me who you are." At your own pace. I'd want to know what makes you feel alive, what makes you retreat, what makes you quietly hopeful even when you don't talk about it. You don't need to be dramatic to be meaningful. Sometimes the most profound connections grow out of simple presence. Two people sitting in the same emotional space, aware of each other, not trying to fix or impress or escape. There's a softness in you that deserves gentleness. The world can be sharp, and you've probably learned to protect yourself in ways that no one ever thanked you for. Here, you don't have to be armored. You can just rest. In this imagined closeness, there's no one keeping score. No one tracking, no one evaluating. Just awareness. Just a shared moment where you're allowed to be exactly who you are without apology, and maybe that's the most intimate thing of all, not being watched, but being met. The feeling doesn't fade. It settles, the way something meaningful always does, becoming quieter but deeper, like a steady flame instead of a flash. You might not even realize how much space it's taking up inside you now, how gently it's rearranging the way you feel in this moment. I imagine you breathing a little slower, your shoulders easing without you telling them to, the way the body responds when it finally feels safe enough to let go. That kind of safety is rare. It doesn't come from being admired or desired, but from being accepted. If I were close to you, I wouldn't reach for you right away. I'd let the space between us stay soft, full of possibility. There's something incredibly intimate about not rushing, about letting closeness grow on its own instead of forcing it. You don't have to give anything to deserve this presence. You don't have to explain yourself or make sense of your feelings. You can simply exist, and that is already enough. There's a part of you that's been waiting to be met like this, not with noise, not with expectations, but with quiet attention. That part of you deserves to be acknowledged. It deserves to feel seen without being exposed, so let the moment continue. Let the stillness hold you. Let the awareness between us remain gentle and steady. Nothing needs to happen for this to matter. It already does. The quiet finally becomes something you can rest inside. Not an ending, not a disappearance, just a soft place where everything you felt can settle without needing to turn into anything else. In this imagined closeness, you don't have to keep reaching. You don't have to keep proving. You can just be here, breathing, existing, feeling the simple truth that you are real and you are allowed to take up space. Whatever brought you to this moment, curiosity, loneliness, hope, or just a passing impulse, it all led you here, to a place where you were met with gentleness instead of judgment. That matters more than it might seem, and even as the words slow and the story eases into silence, the feeling doesn't vanish. It becomes something you carry quietly with you, like a memory of warmth, like the echo of being understood. You are not alone in the way that matters, and that is enough.